Again, it sounds like we have some audio issues. So again, we're going to cover total power battery motor, the clear vinyl and its applications for commercial and residential, how to order the clear vinyl, and then we'll allot about 10 minutes for question and answer. So let me admit some of these folks here. If all of you can make sure that your microphones are muted, that would be excellent, to eliminate any background chatter and so forth. If you do have any questions, I encourage you to use the chat window in Zoom, and I'll be periodically looking at that for questions. Maybe we didn't specify something as clearly, and we'll go from there. So, anyways, here we go, guys. Yep. So, Jeff, you have been our outdoor manager for exterior since 2018. You've actually installed over 1,000 shades here, so pretty impressive. If you aren't familiar with TEXTON's exterior program, one of the very nice things, or the key things that differentiates us versus the competitors is really the level of support, right? So if you have an issue, say pre-sale, or installation, or maybe months after, when you call into a TEXTON, whether you're talking to Jeff, you're talking to maybe Josh Emard, or one of our other team members, you're talking to somebody who actually has been in the field and actually has installed these things and knows what to expect, not just someone reading from a script. So so that makes us very, very unique in that regards. One of the things too, Jeff, so you didn't always start in, or you weren't always in the exterior shade industry. I think you started out in culinary arts. So how does one go from culinary arts to working in exterior shades?
Yeah, I met my wife. My wife and I were cooks at Disney, and I met my wife there, and her family was from Dallas. And so when we got serious, I moved to Dallas to be with her, and then I was actually managing a grocery store at the time.
Yep.
And Ed reached out to me. The exterior products were taken off at the time, and they still are, but they were taken off, and they needed somebody that was dedicated to just the outdoor program. And so here I am.
Here you are. Well, we are glad to have you.
I knew nothing about window coverings or exterior shades. So, I committed myself. I said the only thing I could do is just go out and install every shade I can and service every shade, see where the problems are, talk to installers, talk to dealers. And it really, I think that was the greatest thing we did, because it really brought me up to speed pretty quick. And then, I can see in real time, to this day, we still turnkey here locally in the Dallas area. And I still, will go out on installs, and it's just great to be able to talk to dealers and kind of see what's going on. Y'all give me great feedback to what, what's the issues in the field, or what things, market trends. Mm-hmm. So it's really great because we can kind of pivot on the fly. We can do things much more quickly because we have that insight. And then of course, I want to be able to do that because ultimately you're our customer, right? So you're my customer, and I want to make sure that the dealer's needs are being taken care of because they're the closest to the client. So
awesome. So let's kind of jump into what we're doing. So, when we look at kind of, I guess, the evolution of how people have controlled their shades, right? So there's the manual crank, which is interesting. We have the 110 house volt or 110 volt, house wire, and then there's been somewhat of an introduction to the rechargeable battery, but here, or until recently, it really hasn't been geared for exterior use, right? I mean, a lot of companies have just been taking an interior motor and putting it on the exterior, and it's just not. So, kind of go, throughout these options here as to why someone may want manual or 110, and then kind of get into where we were with a rechargeable.
Yeah. Manual crank, a lot of homeowners will come out and just say that they want manual crank because they assume it's the cheapest option. But just like, why a lot of people don't have manual options on their cars to save money as opposed to automatic. It's the same type of situation. 100, 110 motors, you get so many more benefits and conveniences to the homeowner. It also allows us as a manufacturer and a dealer to have more control over the shades. Remember, manual shades, you can't, you're relying totally on the user to set the top and bottom limits. They can over crank the shade. The hem bar can, go back up into the cassette, become damaged. They can over roll it and the shade will kick the fascia and causing damage to the fascia, which is a service call. So you don't get as much control over a manual shade. And then you can't, the sizes of those shades are also limited because especially our shades, they're very heavy. They're robust commercial systems. And, a lot of times the homeowner won't realize how much work it is, to hand crank
Right.
a huge shade.
70 cranks per 10 feet,
Yeah, and
right?
it's just not as good of a look. At the end of the day, these shades are billboards for you and your business. That's the great thing about exterior shades. It's very common. Dealers get very excited when they first start selling exteriors because you do a couple of homes in a neighborhood and all the neighbors see it, and they're asking where they can get it. So you really want a nice, quality product to show off, and manual cranks just aren't a good look.
Yeah. And then, going into, I guess, the tried and true 110 volt, right? Which is really the gold standard. So kind of walk us through, why that is so important. And then, just, those aspects.
Yeah. I mean, 110, of course, we can do our entire product line, every size shade, maximum size shades we can do with the 110. It also, like I alluded to earlier, it allows us to have more control over the shades. It also allows for additional add-ons. Dealers, the goal is to make money. And so, if you're selling 110, they're higher tickets. They're a lot more utility to the homeowner. They can also be hooked up to home automation systems. So you start adding accessories and wind sensors, which is another thing with manual crank shades is, you can't put a wind sensor with those shades. So you're totally reliant upon the user to raise the shades in case of a storm, or just the fact you can tell a homeowner that they have to stand on their patio in a 40-mile-an-hour storm and, it's raining and they have to hand crank their shades, that usually sells a homeowner on motorization. And it's rare that we even see it. I think less than 2% of our sales are motor or manual crank now.
Exactly.
So, the ability to add on additional products to increase the ticket for a dealer is there. You're offering a lot more benefits and usability for the homeowner and motorization.
Yeah. And, until I recently, there was, somewhat of a dabble with a rechargeable battery. But, when you look at things, from a rechargeable standpoint, the current, say, talked about technology is a lithium ion, right? Which is a phenomenal battery, right? So the Teslas run on it and so forth. But what we've seen is when you put a lithium ion battery inside of a motor for exteriors, that it doesn't perform as well, right? So you're more susceptible to extreme heat and extreme cold, right? So it's not going to recharge. These inter motors that are being used outside, from what I know and too, is that they were very slow and they need to be recharged all the time. So it's just more, while it may be a cost savings, from what we've seen also, it's maybe an annoyance now to the homeowner after they get it.
Yeah, I mean, lithium ion, I've wanted to bring on some type of a solar battery option. And we'll get into the package that we decided to release, but really there's some real downfalls, lithium ion being one. If I want a product that I can ship anywhere really in the world for the most part and be able to, those shades to be functioning, lithium ion, if it gets real cold, it's not going to, hold this charge. It's going to dissipate charge quicker. It's going to take longer to charge. They were slow, most of them on the market, even like what I consider like a good motor, would be 9 RPMs. So that was another thing versus like a 28 RPM Rollies motor. So I wanted to, I was looking for a product that would, when it came out, address the speed, had some ice sense technology,
Mhm.
different configuration in terms of the battery, and 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 then in terms of filling, because I knew there was a niche in the market that
Yeah.
needed to be filled. I just wanted to come out with a quality product. So
Exactly. And I think it's too is that what we come out with has to be price competitive to a 110 motors, right? Because there's also the hard cost of wiring a shade. So whether you're doing residential shades or commercial, those costs can vary widely just because of the cost for the application.
yeah,
The thing is too is in the event of a power loss, we want to can you still recharge your battery, right? And so typically, if there is a power outage and the battery's dead, you can't recharge it because there's no power at the
right.
house.
Which also
Yeah,
negates the wind sensor.
exactly right.
And so, that's another thing is if you don't have power, well, I can't raise my shades, but it's also kind of scary because, there's debris flying through the air as
Yep,
well. You want to retract the shades and the solar power is great because it gives you,
exactly.
24/7 usage.
And then yeah, and then to the point, has something that is fully self sufficient, right? So in theory, you never really have to recharge it unless there is you run out of solar, right? So that would be
Yeah.
an extreme. So this past February, myself and Jeff and a few others, we went to R&T in Germany, where that's really kind of our industry trade show, and came across this Italian motor company called Caposa, and it's my belief, and I think just as well, as that they make some of the finest motors in our industry. And so when we saw what they're offering for the solar power or a battery exterior option, we're like, this is interesting, because we learned that it didn't really you know have a lithium. This was a NiCad battery that is less susceptible to those elements. So kind of walk us through, why this battery is such a game changer, or why this motor really is such a game changer to what we can offer.
Yeah, so we're looking to fill the niche, one for commercial, and Ryan spoke a little bit about that. I kept coming into projects where we were retrofitting the shades. One that comes to mind is, we had 12 shades on a restaurant. I was meeting with the electrician to supply power with the restaurateur, and the electrician said, well, it's going to be 20 grand to run power to these shades. He had to run from the back of the property. They had to heat conduit and run new conduit under pre-existing. And he got into all this, and I'm like, yeah, that's very labor intensive. So, when you're comparing power
Mhm.
along with the shades, and you tell them that you can be at a quarter of the price, realistically,
Yeah.
a quarter of the price with power by doing solar battery and not even having to involve electrician. That's a key selling point for a dealer that maybe he isn't loyal to you and they are pricing it out. Well, they don't have solar battery.
Mhm.
That's a really cool thing. And I'll get into some more specifics with the motors, but power is a big thing. And then just people that like aesthetically pleasing,
Yes, right.
I mean, we do, there's some huge properties that we do where the only way to get power out to the shades is to run conduit, and then they want to paint it to match the stone. And if homeowners aren't looking for that, especially at that price point. So, they
Yeah.
ask, well, I don't want, is there any way to hide? I don't care what you need to do, just hide the power. Well, we can do solar battery. And actually the pictures that we put was that
Yeah.
the pictures that are in the webinar, that's
Yep.
exactly what the situation was. Of course, you still want to set an expectation with a homeowner. You're still going to have a solar panel. You're going to have something on your cassette.
Mhm.
You want to set that expectation, but at the same time, you're not running big runs of conduit to
Yeah.
get power to the shades.
Yeah, so TEXTON is, we are calling this the Caposa Autonomo motor. So it is actually their a brand name. This is actually unique because this is a truly IP65 rated device, right?
No, it's
Okay.
okay. So the
Yeah.
solar panel itself is
Yep.
IP54,
Okay.
which is virtually submersible. The cool thing with the Caposa package, and the install teams are going to love this, is that it comes with a gasket to when you drill through the side, wherever you're pulling power from the motor from, it comes with a gasket built into the cord. And then it's also RGB, so waterproof RGB connections already on it. So it's a true plug and play system, which is nice for install teams. It's probably easier to install than having to custom cut power cords for 110, paint them. We do, we paint them and make them, match, but cable clutch everything to the outlet. But still, if you can just put that, package onto a shade, your installers can just screw them together and program the shades, and you're off to the races.
Yeah.
The other cool thing about it is so like when we send these systems, every order will come with a charger for the motors. We send everything, we'll bench test everything and send them. We'll send these packages out fully charged, and we bench test them before we leave. Before they leave the shop, so they'll all be fully charged. They'll have a plug, and then they also come. You can order as an accessory a 3-meter whip. So if you are in a situation where you can't, based on, you can see in the prior picture, you can articulate that solar panel to catch more sun. I've talked to some colleagues in Europe that have been actually testing the system for longer than I have, and they rave about it. We're putting them on the coast of Greece and putting them in Canada, and they've been testing them before even R&T for about a year. And they rave about it, and they're trusted colleagues in the industry. They've done their own testing on the shades. They've covered the solar panels. They say they'll run twice a day for an extended period of time. They say 45 days in the literature. Some of my colleagues have said they've run longer than that. But again, it's a 20 Newton meter motor too. So it's a big, robust DC motor. It has ice sense technology, and that's a really cool feature where it sends a gentle current to the battery to keep it warm, regardless of ambient temperature, to keep that battery charging at the same rate as whether it's 110 degrees in Texas or it's, negative 20 degrees. It's going to send a gentle current to keep that charge. It's got a microcrystalline solar panel, which if you know anything about solar panels, apparently Ryan does, because he says it's great.
I'm an RVer, so we use that quite a bit. So yeah.
And then it's got slow start, slow stop too. So, what's nice about that, especially our shades, they're kind of noisy when they stop sometimes. And, we fill them full of weight. They're big, heavy systems, and the slow start, slow stop really makes them quiet. The motors themselves are extremely quiet because of just the way that the gears are set up in the motor. They use a worm drive. It's a proprietary patented system. We saw it at the show. I told Ryan, I said, I wish we would have thought of this because it's so
beautiful. Yeah.
But, you don't have a lot of, the parts are all kind of working together seamlessly. So there's not a lot of friction in the motors. They're real quiet for exterior motors. We've been testing it kind of in secret for 6 months to a year somewhere. And we've had nothing but good things said about it. So
it's a solid platform. So, yes, we're introducing this rechargeable battery, and it sounds like this is going to be, oh my gosh, let's offer a battery for every single one of our shades because it's going to be a great application. But there is a reason to still lead with offering a 110, right? And it's really because that is the tried and true gold standard, right? You do have more, say, technology integrations with using a 110 motor, as opposed, to a rechargeable battery, from Gaposa. But kind of walk us through, like when to use 110, when to use a battery, maybe why this can be a competitive advantage, in the field, things like that.
For most applications, 110 in residential, you're not going to be as price competitive with solar battery stations. So 110 is also a very stable platform. It's time tested. So it's been in the industry for decades, especially the motors we use. The Rollies motors are great and they last a long time. The warranty is 7 years. And then also when you can't, like in terms of linking, like if you need to link to a Lutron system, the Gaposa motors will do that. Right?
No, Gaposa can do the Crestron and so forth through Bond, but yes. So, but yeah.
But you can do that for ways too. So,
It's confusing because some do it, some don't, and then all these hubs. But yeah, for the most part, Composer can integrate with a lot of things. But if a client has a very high end integration
Yeah, you'll
where
do like
it's a
Somfy
wired,
with
exactly.
LTI
Yep.
interface and an
Yep.
RT, but the warranty's a little bit better. You'll see the one that we offer is 5 years, but still, I mean, price is the biggest selling point. It's
Exactly.
110, standard 110 is still going to be for most residential is going to
Hmm.
be the cheaper option.
Yep. So okay, so just kind of looking at the chat feed here, no real questions yet. I'm always watching this, so again, if you have any questions, please put that in the chat feed, or just let me check real quick to make sure I didn't miss something. Actually, so Kevin Keefe asked, can a manual crankshade be converted into a motorized shade in the field?
In the field,
Which I don't think so because of the deductions, right?
no, you can't make motorized a manual because the deductions would
Yeah,
be going wider, but you can turn a manual shade
yeah.
into a motorized. Yes, that's a great question.
So, all right. So, let's see here. Colleagues Anderson said, how long is the wire that connects the solar to the motor?
It's about 18 inches. So you're going to have some extra cord where you can tuck it into the shade. It gives you enough to be able to attach the solar panel and move it several, 2 or 3 feet from the edge of either side of the shade if you want to. So it's a good question.
All right. Kimberly Long asked, do they need a supplement charge to the solar battery? So actually, so yeah, so great question. So if you go beyond, say X or the 30 to 45 days where you can't recharge that motor, there is a USB based recharging cable that can be used. That's like like your worst case scenario. So yeah, it does have, say, multiple steps of redundancy, things like that.
Mhm.
So absolutely. So and then Jerry first said, let's see here. Um, what is the expected time interval where you will install a new solar panel and a battery unit?
So five
Yeah,
years is the warranty through
yeah.
Gaposa, which I think is excellent too for a solar battery. So 5 year warranty. The lifespan they say is 3 to 5 years. I think that's a little conservative. Of course, there isn't. We don't have that data. We'll be testing that, but 5 year warranty is pretty good. I think
Hmm.
that's a great warranty.
Yeah,
So you don't have
yeah.
to worry about that.
And then Darren asked, for those that didn't hear it, how long can the battery stay charged without the solar panel? So some testing in the field, what they did, they actually covered up the solar panel, and it was able to, say, operate, or the motor was able to operate for up to, or for like I think 30 to 45 days, operating that shade twice a day. So down and then up, right? If you operate that shade more than that, then obviously that's going to wear down your battery faster. That also depends on the size of the shade, because there's weight in it. So I would say the err on the side of caution, say 15 to 20 days if you're using it religiously for most applications, right? So
Of course, on the Rolly shade, y'all know that you can just run the shade up. I'm still getting I reached out to Gaposa because I wanted to know if there was any type of battery indicator like you have on
mhm,
the Rolly shades where you can run the shades up to the top limit, hold the up button on any interior rechargeable or exterior rechargeable shade, and the shade will run down to where the battery is. So I've used that in the
yeah.
field to
So Lisa asked, you mentioned a linking to Lutron. Can you clarify, is that for 110? Yeah. So
yeah.
so for a Lutron integration, you definitely want to run with the Somfy based a platform that has the most a tried and true integration. With that being said, some cautionary tales is, Lutron is always updating their code base and whatnot. Somfy may be a little bit behind. So it is a bit of a hit or miss. But from what we understand and what we've done with our AV integrators that do that, there hasn't been that many issues come up, right? So just kind of going from there. Is it possible? And Kevin asked again, is it possible to get a black power cord on the 110 shade instead of the white?
You
Yeah.
can. So, we don't manufacture the motors. I've reached out to multiple manufacturers to see if they can do that. And it's just they just put white.
Yeah, we
They just
we
use the
paint
white.
our
The white.
cables for if we're installing it and it has to match trim, our installers just paint it, which if that's not the premium solution, but it gets the job done and we rarely have any issues.
Now
So
the solar battery
oh yeah.
package, the composite package is black. So all the cables are black, including the RGB
Yeah.
connections. So
All right. Well, let's jump on here to clear vinyl. This is actually a new material, or not really a new material of force, but something that is can you can offer a commercial client or a residential client to really have more than a three-season room, right? And so when we say clear vinyl, it some that may sound cheap, right? But what this is a flexible clear window that's fabricated into an exterior shade, right? So and this material that we're using, it's been around for decades. So if you've seen a boat with these flexible clear windows going around the boat and the helm and things like that, this is the same material that is used for that. So it's a very durable marine grade application.
yeah, and the vinyl that I'm using is it's a marine grade vinyl. It has UV inhibitors in it.
Yeah.
It's got a flame retardant rating. It's double polished, so it's ultra clear. It's really a high-end vinyl that works well with the fabrics that we're going to include with it for in terms of borders.
Yeah.
The big thing with clear vinyl is that's another kind of niche. I mean, clear vinyl, restaurants see it as an opportunity to add additional seating. I mean, in a 15 by 25-foot patio, you can get 8 tables and between 80 and 90 guests, or even 100 guests. And so what that does is cover the overflow. I mean, I have 2 little kids, and I can tell you, we can take them to their favorite restaurant, but if they tell us that we're going to wait 40 minutes to eat, we're gone. And so they're losing that. It's just the way it is. So they want to be able to capitalize on that additional revenue, which the shades provide. The other thing is clear vinyl. The other thing from a psychology perspective, restaurateurs want people to see who's eating at the restaurant.
Right.
If you're new in town, you go to the hot spot where all the restaurants are, and you see that restaurant where you don't see a lot of people eating there, but all these restaurants are packed and you can see through and they're eating on the patio. That is inviting.
Exactly.
So they want the clear vinyl. They understand that the warranty on it is 1 year on that material. And you'll see restaurants at least changing out the vinyl every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
The problem with vinyl is it's very maintenance intensive. We send a bottle.
It's petroleum based, really.
Yeah, and there's a chemical like plasticizers, one being PPE, which keeps vinyl supple. And it keeps it from delaminating. I've tested again, we've been testing the clear vinyl since before we decided to do solar. And I tested one here at the shop, and half of it I was using this stuff called 303 Aerospace. It's an excellent product. It cleans as well as protects, and then it adds that like the oil, the PPE back to the product to keep it supple and moist, and keeps it from delaminating. Remember, when these shades roll up into a cassette, it's 126 degrees in a cassette. And the longer it sits, if that vinyl is attached to each other, if you don't have those, if you're not maintaining that vinyl, it'll delaminate or yellow. So I send a little bottle of that. And it says on the bottle to apply that every other month to keep your shades. But restaurants really, they're getting the money back on the shades, and I dare say a couple of weeks. I mean, just if you do the math and look at all these rushes, if you can bring in 80, 90 to 100 people during your rush times a day, that's 200 to 300 people a day extra, conceivably, in a busy restaurant. Those shades are going to pay for themselves rapidly, and you're making an environment that's more conducive. Like in the colder months, you're trapping more heat. Obviously, clear vinyl is virtually not permeable at all to the wind. And so you're blocking the wind and the elements. They're able to keep, basically take care of their overflow year round.
Exactly. And so clear vinyl it's not just for commercial. We have had a lot of residential applications, with this too. So maybe in the northern areas or the upper Midwest, where it's like, hey, I want my my protection on the patio, but during the summertime, I want that visibility too, right? So
Yeah.
walk us through, why someone would want this for a residential application, and then you mentioned something earlier about the dual rollers and whatnot
Yeah.
too. So
So think of like a lake property. You want the best view. Maybe it's colder year round. Maybe
mhm,
that lake is in, upstate New York or something.
yep,
And you want to be able to control that space much more with heat, and then offer a better view. Of course, we all know the fabrics we offer, the 70, 90, and 95 are incredible
mhm,
fabrics in terms of visibility, but they want that nice clear view. And then it also, what I noticed was it also lends itself to, well, what can we use in the summer
right.
that, because we have a greenhouse, right? So now the clear vinyl is like a greenhouse in the summer when the shades are down. We want a little bit more airflow and make it just keep the bugs out. Well, then you can go to a mesh, a 70% or bug screen and do another roller on the inside. So they've got mesh for the summer months, and then the colder months they can drop the vinyl, and that's what they're telling, that's what a lot of these homeowners. So now you're looking at selling twice the shades, the potential's there
Mhm.
for twice the shades, just because you're kind of painting that picture for a homeowner. So residential is
It is,
a
and
great way to
that's a
add shade.
beautiful application there.
Yeah, and it's tough too with shades, because if you're in the exterior shade realm, you know that it really takes a day or two.
Yeah,
I mean, any manufacturer in small writing, I think even in our care and use guide, that it
yeah,
says, let your shades stay down for a couple of days. As soon as you drop your shades the day of the install, these are commercial rated systems. The
right.
fabric is going to expand and contract 1 to 5% based on ambient temperature. How long was that shade rolled up before it was installed? So you're going to have some things, you like to let the shades settle for a day before you take pictures, but it doesn't always work like that. So we take pictures at the install before we
It
leave,
is what
but
it is, right?
it is. But
All
I'd
right.
like to
Yeah.
come back and revisit this a little wrinkly, but
Exactly. So because clear vinyl, it is kind of a different way of thinking about exterior shades. I want to kind of spend some time going over the specs and guidelines and the ordering of a process and whatnot. We are releasing an updated product guide. And so a lot or all of these details that I'm going to show you are featured in this guide as well. And feel free to take screenshots of this as you wish and save it to your desktop, for reference. So there's really like three formats that we're offering, right? So the first one is going to be vertical windows, right? So with all of our clear vinyl applications, we are offering a standard 6-inch border around. You can customize the bottom height of the border. And the reason why someone might want to do that is when you're in a restaurant or a hospitality environment, and you have a shade that goes all the way down. Some restaurants prefer to have some sort of a modesty panel to where it goes up 36 inches to the height of the table, just to kind of hide anything below that. So with that being said, the maximum width of any of these shades is 180 inches, and the maximum drop is 132 inches. The minimum width of the shade using manual operation is 30 inches or 30.375 inches. Well, I really can't speak of this morning. And so when you do this, so there's ways that say, hey, I want a TEXTON to manufacture the windows at equal sizes using our math, but maybe in your application, there's a column or something that you're trying to hide, right? So that's where you would say, hey, maybe I want to make one of these panels wider to have that 6-inch border hide that column. And that is something that can be done too. So the vertical windows, your maximum clear panel width would be 54 inches. And each of these are without seams, right? So on a horizontal a window, and again, this application does not have seams, so this would get you your widest expanse really. Again, these 6-inch border all around. Your customizable border or bottom border from the bottom. The maximum height of the clear vinyl is 54 inches, and the maximum panel width is 168 inches. And again, the same factor, the maximum shade width is 180 inches, the maximum drop is 132. When you look at like, okay, how, what can I get what is my largest window I can get, right? That's when you get into a horizontal window with seams. So because the actual material that comes to us is on a roll, the goods are say 54 inches wide, right? So you basically have to railroad that, and then we seam it. There's I think a half inch or three eighths inch seam or weld, yeah, in the middle. So you can dictate that in pick or on our order forms as to where you want that seam. But using this application, it gives you a maximum clear panel height of 107 inches and a maximum clear panel width of 168 inches. So again, very easy to do. So how to order. So couple things here. So I want to show you some resources that we have on our website, and we have a special guest, Jeb Sims, who's sitting behind the camera, who's actually going to do a live order entry and pick for those of you that prefer doing your own order entry. So on our site, we have a if you go to texton.com/forms and resources, we actually have an exterior shade measure form and a clear vinyl measure form. Some of you may not be familiar with that. So these forms are designed to if you're measuring or when you're measuring a job in the field, it literally walks you through every option and configuration of that product. And so it's designed to say, hey, I'm going to write in all of my measurements, all of my specs, and then I'm going to hand in this form to our customer service team for quoting. And you can literally hand off a fully complete scope to customer service without any back and forth. And so it walks you through that. So all those are on there. And this is the same form actually that our installers use. And it's also available for your reference too. So
so this would be an addendum.
Yeah.
Do the exterior.
Exactly. And so just kind of walking through what kind of how this goes. And you aren't required to fill out these forms, but these are user-friendly guides that can really aid that process and help help the communication between you, our team, and the customer, and so forth. So on our exterior shade ordering form, you'll see here that there is a column called clear vinyl. And so as you're going through and say, hey, this shade is X by X, and here's the brackets, and so forth. Whether it's one shade or two shades, you basically check, hey, this is a clear vinyl shade, right? And when you do that, and then you also submit this addendum form, which again is found on our website, under the resources page. This is where it hopefully is fairly easy to fill out. So using the first column on the left where it says measure sheet line number. So basically, depending on what shade you're calling for that needs a clear vinyl, you would write in that number there. If you're wanting a vertical or a horizontal window, you would check each of those boxes. And then from there, if you want TEXTON to say, hey, we'll do the math, we'll provide the equal sizing, over the width of the opening, just check that and you're done. Easy as that. For some more custom applications, what you can do is say, hey, on the right, I want a bottom border of like say 36 inches. That's like the most common, what we see for retail. And then be able to specify the width of your vertical panel, 1, 2, and 3. So the maximum panels or vertical panels that you can have on a shade is 3. And then if you're working with a horizontal application, then those options are available there on your right. And from there, you send that to sales@texton.com, and Karina would, she is the one that would be processing those requests and so forth. So yeah, when it comes to pricing and surcharges, so really the material is the same cost. The only
Labor.
exactly because this is a lot of handwork. There's a 25% surcharge on the products to do the clear vinyl. So that is the pricing there. So it's pretty straightforward. So again, let's turn this over to Mr. Jeb. I'm going to grant him host permissions here. So one second, Jeb. Let me look you up on the list, and I'm going to make you a host.
I think we'll need to mute y'all as well.
Yep, I'm going to mute myself.
Hey everyone, good morning. So I'm just going to run through our pick system just to kind of show y'all what it looks like. Give me just a sec. Let me get the screen up. There we go. All right. So just going in and quoting a standard exterior shade with a vinyl panel. You'll see everything as we go through is straightforward and matches what it currently does. We're going to do a 120 by 120 shade inside mount. I won't dig into it, but you will soon see the autonomous solar battery listed as a power source. We're just going to put a Volta for right now. We're going to go ahead and do a full box in black, on black, on black with a 2-inch brush. So standard 10-foot by 10-foot shade. But then down here on the bottom, there is a clear vinyl insert. Now, this isn't actually fully released yet for y'all to see in your version of EPIC, but I believe the goal is sometime within the next 48 hours, maybe 15 minutes. So we've got vertical vinyl panel, which that would be this type, where it's 54-inch wide, running up and down in choices of 1, 2, or 3 panels. So at one panel, we have the customizable bottom border. That up from the bottom is 6 inches up from the bottom. That's the minimum. You can increase it. The max panel width is 54 inches, so it'll max out at that. And right now, the panel height is 108 inches for that panel. But say we take it up to 12 inches, that then deducts 6 more inches off of the actual panel height if you were trying to make a larger bottom border. Switch over to 2 panels. That would make 2 windows at 49 3/8 next to each other with 6-inch border in between, and then 6-inch borders on the side. We go out to 3 panels, so you want to throw 3 windows, 3 vinyl windows into the screen. Each of them would be 30 and 7/8 inch wide with 6 inches in between and the 6-inch outside borders. That was the word I was looking for. And so that's kind of going into this view right here where we have 3 windows going across. And that actually it previews the sizes for you so you can get an idea. We'd love to have a kind of a visualizer so you can see it there on the screen. We haven't figured out how to actually produce that yet or if it's possible. But it is something that we would love to add in the future. If we go into the horizontal vinyl panel, that would be this one, where it's just a single sheet going across at 54, a max of 54 inches tall, since it's railroaded across. You only have a 1 panel choice because it's only 1 panel on that without adding a seam. Goes ahead and the 120 width, we have the 12 inches of border, 6 inches on each side, minus the 3 and 5/8 deduction as well. So it shows you that the panel width is going to be 105 3/8 with the panel height of 54 inches. And then, of course, you can adjust this up from the bottom to move the window up higher, say if they want this single window right across the top of the screen. And then we get into the fun one, which this is really the one that during our kind of beta testing and everything else seems the most popular of give me as much window as you can on that screen. I want it maxed out and seams and everything are okay as long as we have the largest window on there. And so that's the horizontal vertical with a seam, which would be this page. And number of panels, it's only going to be 1 panel because it's actually 1 giant window. So it'll have seams across it. You can only adjust up from the bottom you'll always have the 6-inch border on the sides and across the top. And this way you can actually make the windows, it'll always be as wide as it can be, always be as tall as it can be, but then you can lower and adjust the bottom, or raise and adjust the bottom if need be. We don't yet have the 25% surcharge added in, but it will be getting added. So it's actually always viewable on your screen as you're quoting and everything else. So you've got a live view of the pricing. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. So, and turn on our cameras again. All right, where is my video? All right, can you see me? Yep. All right. Yep. So yeah, so it's, while there's a lot of, say, configurations, or that can be done with this, we were trying to really pare down what are the most common options and be able to simplify this. And so I think we've accomplished that. Kimberly Long asked, is that a total of 6 inches in between, or each panel, or would it be 12 inches? So it's a maximum of 6 inches between each panel. And again, we're trying to simplify the order. Yeah,
minimum of 6 inches.
Yes.
Between the board. They can add, so you can do a 12-inch border in between. You just have to do a minimum.
But that would be custom off or outside of the scope.
Right.
Yeah. So, but the standard is a 6-inch border, just to really simplify what we're doing. So, again, all right. Any questions at all on? Let's see here.
Luis said.
Yep. So Luis had a question going back to these solar panel. Let's see here.
Did you mention the solar panel comes with an extra cable in case the shade is installed on the interior of a patio with solar panels required to be installed elsewhere? Yeah, great question. So you get you can order as an accessory, if you need to, a 3-meter whip with the RGBs, male, female on the end. So you can extend that solar panel 12 feet, really.
Yeah.
So that's more than enough to get it through the house and then out to the outside.
Exactly. All right. Any other questions? Again, we are open question of forum here, so feel free to type away. All right. Well, folks, this being vinyl warranty is just 1 to 2 years. The vinyl warranty is a 1-year warranty.
Yeah.
So and we provide a sample bottle of that spray to wash it down or wipe it down. I recommend doing that once a month, right?
Yeah, I mean, once every other month is at least is recommended. So I don't think it'll hurt doing it every month, but yeah. And that's from the vinyl manufacturers. I mean, it's varies between a year, 2 years. But because it's so maintenance dependent. I mean, I know that unless you're taking care of it, it's just not going to last as long because it needs more treatments.
Exactly. So Christy asked, and I'm assuming that this is when we have to recharge the motor and the solar just hasn't recharged it. So how long does it take to recharge that motor from zero?
The Kaposa motor, it says up to 4 hours to charge it.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, and actually in testing, it's actually less than that. But the cool thing about that motor is it also has a separate connection, so you can take the feed off the motor and just plug it in. So you unscrew the solar, you can plug it in and charge it, in the opening.
Yep. Cool. Any other questions, y'all? Nothing. All right. So we have it's just a great thanks. Well, you're welcome, Christy. So we have been recording this meeting. So we'll be posting this on YouTube here by the end of the day. And then from there, I will email out links to all the resources that we provided as far as the ordering guides and so forth, and any spec sheets for the motors. Any questions at all? I would say the best way would be email sales@texton.com, and they will get forwarded to Jeff. Let's see. Can we get a sample of the vinyl?
Yeah. So what we're Ryan and I are going to do a sample to add to our exterior sampling,
like a 10 by 10.
Yeah, I think we're going to do the same like we have with the 90 and the 95. Now it's a 10 by 10. The clear vinyl, maybe we'll do it like half vinyl, half what the border will be, so they can see that. But yes, there will be sampling included,
Yeah.
added to the exterior sample kit. So
Yeah.
great question. Thank you.
So, yeah, so guys, we are so excited about these new offerings. We hope that it makes you all more competitive in the field. If we didn't answer any of your questions that you had raised, as you signed up, reach out to us, and we'll answer those on a one-by-one basis. So, tomorrow is Friday Eve, so it's Thursday, so we're halfway through the week. So, yeah, so go at it. All right, folks. Thank you
Thanks
so
for joining
much,
us.
and we'll talk soon.